10. Should we begin? Venkatesh, should we start then?
Yeah, I think we can. Yes, please.
Perfect, perfect. So we don't want to waste the time for at least those of us who have joined us early. So namaskar and happy new year to everybody. And welcome to season 2 of the masterclass series of Being Future Ready with Vadhvani Foundation, IIM Bangalore, as well as NEGD. And Digital India program, of course, since we are streaming live on their channel. We are excited to actually start with a big bang. We all saw a fantastic year we had last year, and we had some fantastic speakers with some fantastic topics that we got a lot of insights and information on. And we want to create the same effect and rather take that effect to become more exponential this year as far as being future ready is concerned as a theme. We'd like to welcome everybody for the first episode in season 2, like everybody understands today, in the OTT language platform that people use. The first episode is, of course, with our esteemed guest that we have for today's episode, Mr. Shankar Maruvada, who's the CEO and founder and co-founder of the Ekstep Foundation. Welcome, Shankarji. And I will, of course, introduce in detail as to how he has accomplished and helped largely to what we also know as Aadhaar, for example. But the topic that he's going to talk to us about is how can innovations in digital transformation flow across boundaries? So without much further ado, we will immediately deep dive, finish our introductions and hand it over to Shankarji. Just one thing I'd like to share with everyone. We have the chat option available, so please insert your questions and queries over there. This particular masterclass will be conducted by Shankarji in 2 parts. Each part will follow up with a Q&A. So please keep in mind the questions that you put in are specific for both parts. Without much further ado, I'd like to invite our friend and esteemed colleague from IIM Bangalore, Sri Venkatesh, to quickly introduce CSITM from the IIM Bangalore side. Venkatesh,
Sure.
please go ahead.
Sure, Purabhi. I'm Venkatesh Balakrishnan. I manage the Center for Software and IT Management of IIM Bangalore. On behalf of the Center and IIM Bangalore, I take pleasure in welcoming the speaker for today's event, Sri Shankar Maruvada, Purabhi and the entire of Advani team, Rajneesh ji, Puneet and the entire of Digital India team, and all the participants for today's event. I would give a real quick introduction of the center. The center itself was started in 1998, and Professor Shankari Banerjee is the current chairperson. And it was created with the purpose of serving as a hub for open exchange of information among academia, government, and industry. And from that angle, events such as this kind of masterclass brings together all the 3 kinds of professionals: academia, government, and industry, and it's of high importance. And we conduct various events, some of them workshops and seminars, and some of them are large summits and conferences. And the focus area has always remained as the emerging technologies at any given point. And as of now, we are concentrating on artificial intelligence, digital transformation, product management, digital governance, and everything. And we have listed the recent events, and we can see that it ranges from healthcare to governance to conducting research for the benefit of students. And one of the key upcoming events is the 6th edition of the Software Product Management Summit, which is a 3-day event scheduled for 15th to 17th of February. And many of you would have already got notifications. And we find that all the participants in the masterclass are in some way or the other related to software products, and we look forward to your participation. And with that, I hand it back to Purabhi for taking today's event forward.
Thank you, Venkatesh, for that introduction. I'd now like to invite the CEO and Director at National E-Governance Division, NEGD at METI, Shri Rajneesh Kumarji. Rajneesh, sir, please quickly.
Thank you, Purabhi, and welcome, Shankarji, for your lecture. And we're all awaiting to listen to you. So without wasting too much time with the people, I'll just say that NEGD is one of the IBDs of the Ministry of Electronics and IT into the core business of having e-governance in India. Thank you, Shankarji. Please, I'll be waiting for your lecture.
Great. So without much further ado, I'd like to also not take too much time. I'd like to, share interesting news and amazing news. Formerly known as WITP, we have now been renamed as the Vadhvani Center for Government Digital Transformation as a part of the Vadhvani Foundation. And the key focus here being that we focus through Skilling Academy. We are a technology enabler where we look at incubating ideas that lead to digital transformation and, more importantly, the advocacy towards programs and policies related to tech. So we are excited to add the first episode in the offerings that we bring at WGT to gain more insights on doing various population scale projects, for example. Allow me and join me in welcoming our speaker today, Mr. Shankar Maruvara. As we all know, he is the CEO of the Ekstep Foundation, which is a philanthropy which he co-founded himself in 2015 along with Nandan and Rohini Nilekaniji. He has over 27 years of experience across corporate, entrepreneurial, government, and development sectors. And of course, this allows him to bring the best of the thinking from different perspectives, which he has clearly used in shaping Ekstep strategic choices of achieving population scale impact. He's a passionate person, mostly about people plus approach to innovations that leverage technology for large-scale societal transformation, keeping the citizens at the center. He was a part of the founding team of Aadhaar. In fact, he was responsible for naming it. Mr. Maruvara serves and has served on multiple government committees and task forces, including the National Curriculum Framework, National Steering Committee, Diksha, NDIA, and IGOT. As a successful entrepreneur, he has co-founded India's first data analytics startups, one of them, and called Marketix. He also mentors startups, social entrepreneurs, and not-for-profits. He's an alumnus from IIT Kharagpur and IIM Ahmedabad. We welcome you, and we are really excited to know how innovations in digital transformations can flow across boundaries. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Purabhi. I'll share my screen now.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really excited to share some of my experiences on innovation and that of Ekstep Foundation's experiences over the past almost a decade now. The topic today is innovations in digital transformation and how they can flow across boundaries. What I'll share with you are my perspectives, and I would look forward to your engagement in the question and answer sessions that follow. Let's look at a scenario in 2047. Naresh was born on 30th of November 2022, the same day that ChatGPT was launched. So now in 2047, he is a 25-year-old farmer. By the way, he's the guy on the left. The guy on the right is his father-in-law who's come to visit him. In the year 2047, Naresh has a fleet of AI-enabled bots, sensors, farming machines, connections to the information network on agriculture marketing prices, input parameters, pests, weather, and a lot of this, his AI bots and agents are able to assimilate it, talk to each other, and take most of the pain and effort out of farming, which leaves Naresh with extra time. And in this extra time, he also has a second occupation, that of a paralegal, but for an American company. Because Naresh, even though he's a 7th generation farmer, did his basic studies in law. but he is a Marathi and not too comfortable with English. So what does he do? He uses AI language translators to understand the English legal brief sent to him from the US and create uh, briefs in Marathi, which is then translated and sent back as English. And all of this is possible because of a whole lot of AI-based innovations that are mainstream in 2047. So in addition to paralegal, now he's thinking about learning to become a quantum data scientist, because in 2047, that's a new and exciting field. And here again, he learns online through Marathi, though some of the courses were originally from Stanford in English. So I've given you two science fiction stories of Naresh. One is around earning, and the second is around learning. The question is, in the year 2047, how can 1.5 billion people write their own science fiction story? It can only happen when, as a country, we innovate, we leverage the latest technologies, we leverage the creativity of our people, our mass human resource potential to come up with lots and lots of innovations. So what's the problem? What we have seen in innovation is there are a lot of barriers, boundaries, silos. Typically, innovation does not flow from one sector to another, from one geography to another. And oftentimes we have seen a lot of innovative ideas do not scale up. They work at the level of an experiment, they work at the level of a pilot, they work at the level of a very interesting news item, but they just don't scale up. Why is that? There are a lot of reasons for it, because scaling up innovation needs administrative mechanisms, institutional mechanisms, funding. There are cultural barriers, language is an important barrier, devices, connectivity. There are many, many barriers to innovation. Another barrier to innovation is not invented here. And to give you two real life examples, before Aadhaar, there were a whole lot of interesting biometric innovations done in food and health and many other sectors in India. But they were innovations, very attractive, but only worked at a small scale. Whereas Aadhaar as a biometric enabled digital identity is with 1.38 billion people. I'm sure all of you have it. Similarly with UPI. Before UPI, there were a whole lot of digital wallets and digital payment mechanisms, and each was a wonderful innovation. But hardly 10, 15 million people were using it. And within 2-3 years of UPI being introduced, close to 500 million Indians are making digital payment. So when innovation is designed the right way, it can flow across boundaries, and India has shown the world that this is possible. So let's deep dive into how this can happen with two examples you might be familiar with. The point is not to spend too much of time on these examples. I will focus on explaining how innovation can flow across boundaries. Let's start with education. And Rajneesh Kumarji is here. His prior assignment was in the Ministry of Education, where we work closely. Education in India is very complex. Not only is it big, it is also diverse. And you see the statistics here. So there are these imaginations of this wonderful single solution that will solve for the whole country, or what are known as magic bullet solutions. A lot of them have been tried, but they've not really succeeded in solving. No single solution has succeeded in solving the problem because of all these reasons. It's complex, it's big, and India is a diverse country. But then you have Diksha, which is part of the Prime Minister's e-Vidya program, which has created digital highways of learning in school education. So, launched in 2017 by the Government of India, Ministry of Education, It has achieved a whole lot of impressive numbers: 61 billion learning minutes, 130 million digitally verifiable credentials. These are digital courses taken by teachers, uh, 7 million plus teachers, and a potential reach of 180 million plus students. There are 600 million textbooks with QR codes, unique QR codes, and each of them points to specific digital content connected to that. And there are more than 300,000 plus digital content in 30 plus languages. And on the ground, there are more than 600,000 micro improvement projects taken up by specific schools to improve the school infrastructure. So it's, as you can see, Diksha has created a digital highway of learning. It's not just specific solutions, because there are multiple solutions built on top. This is one program. And the second program, especially those of you who are in government, you would have heard of the I Got Mission Karma Yogi, launched by the Prime Minister a couple of years ago. It is lifelong learning for government personnel. Think of it as Diksha is for schools, I Got is for government professionals, which is close to 3 million Government of India personnel. And out of these, 2.5 million users are already onboarded. 5 million learning hours are already recorded. 780 courses on the platform in multiple languages. So these are two different digital public infrastructure for the country. And as you can imagine, the requirements of IGOT will be completely different from that of, say, a teacher training on IGOT, or a teacher training on Diksha, or a child learning on Diksha. You have to think about competency building, career mentorship, work allocation, which officer should be assigned to which role, assessment, and many other things which are unique to the government employees. So how can these two distinct platforms or digital public infrastructure be connected? What is common between these two digital public infrastructure? Let me explain that. Diksha has a building blocks digital public infrastructure architecture, because it is built specifically to solve for India's needs, which means it's like layers. The cloud infrastructure is a different layer from the platform, which is a different layer from the actual solutions. And that, on top of that, sits the people and processes who run it. And then the actual programs where budgets are spent, institutional mechanisms come in. This building block architecture means innovation in each layer can happen independent of the other layers. And it is not one monolithic solid block. Why is this important? Because of layers 3, 4, and 5, the product solution layer, the platform layer, and the cloud infrastructure layer. I will deep dive into one of these layers, the platform design. The platform here, which is built on Sunbird, is flexible and evolvable, because Sunbird is an open source set of building blocks. Xstep Foundation invested its philanthropic money to create Sunbird as an open source for anybody to use. So think of Sunbird as a set of digital building blocks which have come together to create a platform. And these building blocks, you'll see some of the names here, which are all open source, built by the community and constantly evolving. Each building block does one thing, but does that one thing very well. But each building block also connects with other building blocks, so that together they are very, very powerful. And this creates many advantages. And this is fundamental to how innovation can flow across boundaries. Let me explain. Each building block, when created, does a particular job, but that building block can be continuously evolved. Innovations can improve that building block without disturbing the rest of the building blocks. And you'll see some of them here are also AI-enabled building blocks. I'll come to that later. So when new technologies come, like say generative AI, those are just new blocks added, or existing blocks can be upgraded with AI. Now, if this is sounding very new and unique, it is not. Because this is how, as a civilization, we have solved for many challenges like housing, like transportation. A brick is the most common building block you know. A building is made of bricks and cement and paint and tiles and windows and roofs and plumbing. Each of them is a building block. But when they come together, you get buildings of all kinds of shapes. It's the same with cars. A car is made of thousands of parts. When all the parts come together, you get different kinds of cars. So the same building blocks can result in creating many, many different types of innovations. And that's what happened with Diksha and iGot. Diksha, which was launched in 2017, in a way inspired the upgrading of the iGot Karmayogi technology, because in 2019, in a meeting with the Honorable Prime Minister, he requested that can a Diksha-like approach be helpful in training civil servants? And then a lot of organizations came together, including XTEP Foundation, worked with the Department of Personnel and Training. Just like with Diksha, a lot of organizations came together to work with NCERT and Ministry of Education to create these two digital public infrastructure. But because a lot of the building blocks were already ready and available, iGot Karmayogi built off on that. However, the building of that meant that iGot Karmayogi could decide its own cloud provider. It could decide its own solutions on top of Sunbird and its own people and processes and its own programs. And this flow from Diksha to iGot Karmayogi because of Sunbird building blocks has happened in other cases also, which is a very unique India-led model. So NULP is a iGot-like platform for urban learning. Astrika is a special platform for training midwives. And Ministry of Agriculture has created a kind of a platform for farmer and farmer extension workers. And similarly, there are many other such platforms coming. All of them have taken Sunbird building blocks and built their own solutions on top and innovated on top. But it is only possible if each of them has their own strategic autonomy, which means they can decide what to do, how to do, and make all the decisions. And this is important because the design of these building blocks have to enable strategic autonomy. And therefore, while designing large-scale digital public infrastructure, whether it be Aadhaar or UPI, which you're familiar with, or even a Diksha or an iGot, we have created these principles. IDEALS is the acronym, but when you're designing DPIs and you're thinking about innovation at the scale and diversity of India, it's important to think of India scale, India diversity. It's important to think about how will you enable rapid evolution. It's important to think about how you can enable autonomy It's also important to think about leveraging what all already exists institutionally, the connectivity, the infrastructure, the human resources. Last and most important, the design has to be simple to adopt, whether it be the child in school, the teacher, the civil servant, whoever is the end user. The technology-enabled solutions have to be so simple that it becomes easy for them to evolve. Of course, these high-level principles result in very, very specific things like these. I won't have time to go into that. But as you can see, one of those principles is powered by building blocks. This is a separate talk in itself, but these 20 specific principles around these 6 dimensions of IDEALS is what we think about as we are creating and designing these DPIs. So I'll stop now, and we'll have the first round of questions.
So,
Yeah.
Shankarji, I think the audience is still assimilating their thoughts to put their questions. So, would it be, we've not received any.
Sure.
Would it be okay for you to perhaps address some of the frequently asked questions to you so that it can steer the audience to either write their questions while you answer them, or we can
Sure.
take a look at the questions towards the end as we will accumulate more?
Yeah, maybe let's do that. Yeah, what I
Okay.
would encourage the audience is if any question strikes you, now please put it. Otherwise, I'll continue with the rest of the presentation.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I've talked about how a digital public infrastructure using building blocks can enable innovation to flow across boundaries, across the various silos. And now all of us are aware of the AI revolution that has been unleashed. How would a DPI approach to AI work? And how could this enable those 1.5 billion science fiction stories that I talked about right in the beginning? The key to that is to solve not just for innovation, but also for inclusion. And I'll explain how. Typically, when we think of innovation, we think of very vertical use cases. A healthcare use case, education use case, a farming use case. But if one were to think of these as horizontal use cases, solving for identity with Aadhaar is a horizontal use case because the same identity verification can work across many sectors. So way to think about DPI in AI is to think about people-centric use cases that can work across sectors. And I've talked about, briefly mentioned 7 here. I'll explain them with specific examples to show you that what I'm about to tell you is not science fiction. It's already happening. These people-centric use cases that use AI is already happening. And I'll share with you some examples across these 7. And these are some of the specific projects where a lot of organizations, including Vadhwani and many ministries, have come together to help the country solve. The first of the 7 is access to contextual information. The SUVAS is a platform of the Supreme Court of India. And in 2019, the then Honorable Chief Justice of Supreme Court requested Extep Foundation to help in language translation. And that is when, as Extep Foundation, we started creating digital public goods, open source, around AI and adding it to Sunbird. So as a result of that, what happened was SUVAS is another platform built on top of Sunbird. What SUVAS does is it allows the Supreme Court system to translate judgments from English to now 10 other languages. Why is that important? the moment a Supreme Court judgment is available in a local language, a lawyer in Tamil Nadu, in Mizoram, in Gujarat can get the relevant information they need in the language that they are comfortable with, the Indic language. So that is access to contextual information. And there's just some screenshots from the Suvas thing, which shows how AI enabled, but human overseen processes ensure that the translation happens. But it's finally the Supreme Court system that is human accountability led, which is verifying these documents are indeed being translated well. So that system has produced more than 28,000 translations over the last few months. And in the coming months, there'll be lots more of these translations, not just of the Supreme Court judgments, but also the high courts, various high courts of India. They will also be using platform like this to complete the translations of their judgments. This is the first idea, which is access to contextual information, which means tomorrow a similar innovation can happen in education or health or farming, where somebody might want to translate a document in one language into another language. This is an example of a horizontal use case. The second is a program launched by the Honorable Prime Minister a few months ago called Kisan E-Mitra. A lot of farmers currently may not be too comfortable in reading text, but a lot of them have phones and WhatsApp. Is it possible for a farmer to talk on WhatsApp and get the status of their Aadhaar status and also the payments that is due to them as part of Kisan E-Mitra? This is just to kind of show you how it happens, where a farmer talks in Hindi or Malayalam or Odia as to what's the status of my payment. And the bot asks, the AI-led bot asks, can you please share your Aadhaar number? Once that is shared, the bot then talks to the government databases, finds out the status, and then answers back that here is the status of your payment. Now, this is a government launched bot. And so in cases where there is some further action to be done, it directs the farmer to go to a particular website or call a number to either give some additional information or get additional information. The reason this is possible is with generative AI, the technology can now understand, it can reason your intent. What are you trying to achieve? It can reason your context. And this horizontal use case can again be used by an Anganwadi worker on the ground. It can be used by a lawyer on the ground. It can be used by a teacher. It can be used by a police constable to understand what to do in a particular situation with respect to the laws, etc. Third is UPI has made transactions easy. But what if you could speak to your phone and say, मेरी माता जी को आप 200 रुपया ट्रांसफर कर दीजिए मेरी बैंक अकाउंट, स्टेट बैंक वाला बैंक अकाउंट से. What if your phone could understand who Mataji is when you say मेरी बैंक अकाउंट स्टेट बैंक, what that bank account is? When you say 200 rupiah, it means 200 rupees in English. And then talk to various databases and actually confirm with you before sending the money. This is Hello UPI, which was launched again a few months ago, currently available in Hindi and English. In the coming months, this will increase to 10, 11 languages. This is launched by NPCI, the National Payments Corporation of India, the same people behind UPI. So as you can see, while the innovation specific solution is in payments, the same idea can be taken by others and used in a different sector. Now, in all of this, the government agency enabling it is called Bhashini, which comes under the Ministry of Information and Technology called METI. And like with Diksha and I got, again, several organizations, including IIT Madras, Vadhwani, AI, X-Ray Foundation, partnered with the government and to help Bhashini set up platforms where in turn Bhashini is providing these services to all government departments and ministries and institutions like NPCI. So again, you see a digital public infrastructure, but applied in AI. One more example is capabilities and productivities, which is, as I said, the Kisan e-Mitra can help extension workers to understand how to recognize a particular pest and or what advice to give a farmer. And the bot in search looks through many official documents, training guidelines, research papers, and gives the relevant answers back to the Kisan Mitra in a language that they understand. Similarly, for teachers with education related matters, or Jiva is something for judges, where judges can get access to past judgments which are relevant to the particular case on hand. So what it does is it enables the person to increase their capabilities and be more productive and still talk or interact with technology in the language of their choice. And here again, there is currently support for 10 Indian languages with AI for Bharat technology. And AI for Bharat is the IIT Madras team that is creating all of this as, again, open source technology. Ekstep has funded AI for Bharat. Government of India has also funded AI for Bharat. So this is a large collaboration to create a digital public infrastructure in artificial intelligence. Same in lifelong learning, where schools in Tamil Nadu, there's a program called Morigal. Students are learning English and Tamil using artificial intelligence, or Pratham is using artificial intelligence for a program of theirs. Vistar, as I mentioned, is like Diksha for agriculture extension workers, and NULP and Diksha have talked about. So there are many platforms like this, which AI is also helping them to learn other languages or learn new languages in their or learn new concepts in their language of choice. Another example, a nurse needs to practice to improve her English. And she just wants to learn 300, 400 sentences so that she can talk to patients. Because if she does that, she can get a much better job in a better hospital abroad or whatever works for her. Can we enable just-in-time upskilling? This is another project that's happening. And last, there's an open network for jobs, internship, scholarships called Honest, and a future version of Vistar. In all of this, again, can a combination of voice-based, where a person says, I'm looking for a particular job, or a farmer says, I think I have a pest problem. What's the right way to tackle it? Or I have a certain crop of tomatoes. What's the best price I can get and from which market? These are all possible applications related to earning and livelihood. So the 7 examples I talked about, essentially are to illustrate the idea of how a horizontal use case can enable several vertical use cases across sectors, and therefore enable innovation to flow from one sector to the other. Now, as I conclude, the reason why innovation becomes even more important in our future is the nature of artificial intelligence. AI is the new GPT, and I don't mean the GPT like in Chat GPT. I mean the economic term, general purpose technology. technologies like the internet, electricity are what are known as general purpose technologies because they pervade all of society. And any and everything in society starts using them. So these are general purpose technologies. The thing that is unique about general purpose technologies is that it takes time. The promise of electricity was shown in 1879, but it took another 3 decades for a whole lot of innovation around the bulb that was shown in 1879. The transformers, the production, the distribution mechanism, the lot of policies that took 2-3 decades before electrification became common stream. And now electricity is all around us. With AI also, it will take time. But like with electricity, where in a sense we are connected to electric grid very easily, there is a large AI grid that will be created all around us. That AI grid will be an interconnected grid. And that is the future, that if we design for innovation to flow across DPI boundaries, as a country, we can really leapfrog over the next 25 years. And this is India's unique opportunity, which is a DPI-led, AI-infused, people plus technology transformation that has global impact. The transformations in India over the last 2 decades has the world looking up to India admiringly on how India has transformed herself using technology. But these have largely had an impact within India. The difference in the next 2.5 decades is that India's transformation will have a global impact. Naresh, who is a paralegal in 2047, is helping in legal cases in the US. And that is where I will conclude. That I believe the way 1.5 billion people can write their own science fiction story like Ramesh, there are 3 ingredients to it. 1, enable innovation across boundaries. To do this, think of how to enable inclusive innovation. Typically, these two are seen as oil and water. They don't mix. Either you do innovation or you think about inclusion. But we have shown in India that the way we innovate, it can solve for inclusion and innovation. And lastly, not think of AI as one more technology, but think of AI as supercharging India's digital public infrastructure efforts, the results of which are all around us. If you have Aadhaar, you have been impacted by it. If you have made a UPI-based payment, you've been impacted by it. If you have FASTag in your car, that is a DPI. If you have a vaccination certificate, that's COVID, that is DPI. Diksha, I got, there are many other such innovations that are at the scale of India, which are digital public infrastructure. AI will help to increase the impact of these digital public infrastructure, and the spread of digital public infrastructure will help to accelerate the reach of AI across 1.5 billion people much faster than it would otherwise. And if one brings these 3 ingredients together over the next 20 odd years, I'm confident that by 2047, not only will India be a developed nation on the eve of its 100th independent year, it will also become a beacon to the rest of the world in how technology can be used and innovations can flow across boundaries to uplift all 1.5 billion people. Thank you very much. And I'll now open for questions.
I shall paste all the questions so far in the panelist window.
Okay. Yeah, I can see some of that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me.
So if you want,
Yeah.
Shankarji, we can moderate them
Yes, please.
however you like.
Yes. So let me start off by answering one
I
question,
think
and you can
Purvi,
moderate.
Purvi,
Yeah.
I think you can speak out the question to Shankarji. It will be easier for him.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So typically Venkatesh does the
Yeah.
moderation. Venkatesh, would you like
Yes,
to go ahead?
I can do that. Pradeep.
Sure.
Sure. The first question is from Varsha. What can be achieved for rapid evolution phase? Question is on what can be achieved for rapid evolution phase.
Yeah. Again, excellent question, Varsha. As I mentioned, for rapid evolution, you have to design it for rapid evolution, which means if you're thinking of it as building blocks, I mean, let's take a simple analogy, a car, or even common, a cell phone. The design of your smartphone is for rapid evolution. Why is that? Because every year the camera technology is getting better. Every year the sensors are getting better. Every year the screen is getting better. Every year the battery is getting better. And the smartphone is nothing but a combination of all of these building blocks coming together. If you don't think of a building block approach, there's a danger of becoming like Nokia, where they will design for everything. You remember at one time Nokia was the dominant phone, but their phones was not designed for rapid evolution of each of the parts. Whereas the Samsung Android phones and iPhones all were designed keeping rapid evolution in mind. And the phone companies were just putting it together, configuring it to create the solution. So short answer would be think building blocks, think how to put it together, and also rapid evolution is useless unless there is usage. How do you design so that it is easy to use? Those would be some of the high level ways of achieving rapid evolution, but the detailed principles are laid in that the specific 20 principles of ideals, and the deck will be shared later. You can go through them, which lays out specific design principles.
Sure, sir. The next question is from Shibani Mohapatra. The question is, while channelizing the tech-driven innovations, how to manage the resistance to change?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. You know, personally, what I found interesting about change, it's always easy for us to tell others to change. But when it comes to changing ourselves, we resist. Why is that? Because we change most when we want to change or when we need to change. So resistance to change happens when a solution is created somewhere else and is dumped on you. Or in another way, put another way, to use the innovation, you need to do a lot of things which you're not comfortable with. Typing, if you're not comfortable with it. English, if you're not comfortable with it. A computer, if you're not comfortable with operating systems, etc. And that means sitting in a place, etc. Whereas a phone is so easy. Then there are administrative reasons why you're not allowed to use a certain technology. There are cultural, linguistic, political, capacity, infrastructure. All of these reasons exist. So to manage the resistance to change, it is important to co-create the change. Co-create the change with those who are the likely users. Co-create the change with the administrative and institutional mechanisms that will be scaling this up. And it is much easier for an organization to innovate, create new technology. It is much more difficult to make the technology walk into people's lives. The resistance to change happens when the design of innovation is such that you expect the people to fit into technology. You expect the people to change themselves to leverage your technology. And our experience has been the resistance is less when the technology or the innovation blends into people's lives, into people's habits, into people's day-to-day workload. So make technology blend into people's lives rather than expecting people will change themselves to use technology. That is the biggest way of thinking about how to manage resistance to change. And how to do it is, again, some of those principles mentioned in the deck talk about it.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Sarita Reddy from Andhra Pradesh. Sarita is narrating an observation. Yesterday, I watched a news piece on BBC which showed the use of artificial intelligence in farming. The guy who was using artificial intelligence is not a farmer but seems to have a farm. He has AI background. It is my observation. My question is, using artificial intelligence in farming in a country like India where farmers don't come forward to break the ice or think out of the box, what can be done to create awareness of using technology like artificial intelligence?
Yeah, excellent question, Sarita. I've also seen the documentary. And so this is, again, goes back to what I said earlier. If you make the farmer walk to AI, that's not going to happen. But if AI can blend into the farmer's life, and I'll give you a few examples which has already happened, not in AI in particular. I'm guessing many of you have used UPI payment. Now, for us, it is quite common in India. But when other foreign guests come to visit us, they're just amazed as to how easily payment can happen. Where a coconut vendor with a small movable trolley has the QR code, gives you the coconut, you pay the QR code through you pay through the QR code, whatever, 30 rupees, and you are gone. What happened there? A very sophisticated technology was simplified, and through combination of phone and QR code and a lot of sophisticated background technology, the coconut seller's life was improved. Can something similar happen with farmers? Nobody, again, Sarita, you've asked what can be done to create awareness of using a technology like AI. You don't need to create awareness of using AI. If any of you have used Gmail, you have used AI. So all of you have used AI, whether you are aware of AI or not. Just like you may not know about the core banking protocols, but you have withdrawn money from an ATM. You may not know about GPS and a whole lot of sophisticated technology, but you have used Gmail. So the point about technology is it is best served when it is invisible. It best serves people when it is invisible. But if it is very complex, that you have to know about it, you have to understand it, then it will not get adopted. So the answer to how, or rather, I would reframe this question as, what does technology need to do to fit into the life of a farmer? That takes you along a different kind of innovation. Otherwise, as I mentioned in the beginning, you will have many documentaries like this of wonderful companies doing truly wonderful work. That innovation will not scale up or flow across silos.
Thank you. And the next question is somewhat similar. How can small and mid-sized industries in India adapt to the pace of emerging digital technologies, and how can they leverage digital transformation consistently?
Yeah. Excellent question. And this is where the idea of a digital public infrastructure comes in. The car makers don't have to worry about building roads. The companies providing fuel don't have to worry about either cars or roads. And none of these three have to worry about lighting on the roads or restaurants, etc. That's because, again, there's a digital public infrastructure approach there. So if something similar, which is already happening in the digital world, Aadhaar, UPI, Diksha, iGot, etc., what these digital public infrastructures do is they provide services using emerging digital technologies so that small companies can innovate at a local level in the context around them. If you take artificial intelligence, the investments that have gone in to create Bhashini into AI for Bharat, these are provided as a public service. And therefore, a small startup in Tamil Nadu can provide voice-based assistance to farmers in the local language and some services on top of that. They don't need to build the whole AI technology. They're just using it. Just like none of us produce electricity, we consume electricity. None of us build roads, we use roads because they're provided to us as a service. So the idea of consuming technology or consuming technology-enabled services is what could drive innovation by small and medium industries. And the simplest example, all app developers, they are small companies when they begin. They did not invent the phone. They did not invent GPS. They did not invent payments. They did not invent the operating system, Android or iPhone, but they are innovating on top. So innovation to create digital public infrastructure and innovation on top of that public infrastructure. They're two different things. So the small and mid-sized industries can focus on innovation on top of the building, the core foundation. They can focus on innovating by understanding the needs of the consumers around them and providing them better value, better services. They don't need to focus on keeping track of the latest technology, just like you and I don't keep track of the latest GPS technologies or the latest road technology that somebody else is figuring out. We are going about doing what we want to do. It's something similar with small and mid-sized industries. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question is on how many regional Indian languages that are being supported currently?
Yeah. So text to text, all the 22 major Indian languages are being supported. Voice is currently in 11. And if you go to AI for Bharat, AIFORBHARAT.org, you will get the full details. Or even you can go to Bhashini, the ministry website, you'll get all the details.
Okay. A related question, how about seamless instant translation of Indian regional languages into English and vice versa to support the tourism industry sector specifically? This is from Shivashankar.
Yeah, Shivashankar, go to Android Play Store, download an app called Bhashini, which is created by the Ministry of Information Technology, and you can use it to do this already. But that's just a sample app. Those in the tourism industry can take the underlying digital infrastructure and build tourism-specific apps where I speak in Odia, you understand in Spanish, and vice versa. By the way, this was used in the recent G20 leadership summit that we had.
Okay. The next question is from Kasina Rao, and this is on, can existing applications utilize artificial intelligence tools to incorporate and make them give better outcomes instead of recreating new apps?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, a lot of the current digital public infrastructure, like as I mentioned, I got Diksha and or even UPI and Honest, they're all thinking about how to incorporate AI in what they're doing. So, the right analogy to think of it is AIification. When electricity was invented, at first it was a new and shiny toy when the bulb was invented in 1875, 79. And then it took another 40, 50 years for every process to be electrified. Factories to be electrified, housing, lighting to be electrified, heating to be electrified, cooking, electricity in the kitchen. And that created a whole lot of gadgets, a microwave, etc. So that's why I use the word infusion of AI into existing technologies and processes. And that's how we see that the AI innovation can flow to all of India.
Okay. Shivashankar has multiple questions. The next question from him is, are there any unique AI technology patents by India that are offered globally?
So India currently, excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. India currently lags in deep tech. And that's something as a country we are cognizant on. People are working on it. It'll take 10, 15 years for us to catch up on deep tech. So a lot of the patents might be by Indians, but they're Indians working in corporates, in multinationals. So the patents are not necessarily exclusive to India. I won't have too much of detail on the exact number of patents, but the kind of work being done in our academic institutions are more focused on what should work for India. It will take that 10, 15 years for us as a country to produce many patents consistently. Till then, it is just the odd innovation here and there that is being patented. And we have a lot to do there.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is from Sarita Reddy, and this is on the job cuts. AI has been seen as a threat among few sections due to job cuts. What can be done to balance this? What role the skill development sector can play in this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of thought already going into it, and the skill development sector is working on it. It has to look at multiple levels. Number one, there are a lot of new jobs that will come, which are because of AI. Second, existing jobs can be better done because of AI. So there's a lot of training, retraining, skilling, reskilling, also educating our children for that future in AI that they will grow up to. So there are various estimates of job cuts and all, but I'm not worried because in a sense that is the nature of technology. When industrialization happened, the skill profile changed dramatically. I don't think any of us are farmers or we farm to get our daily food. And so society transitions. Now, this transition is never painless. And so the question is, how do we minimize the pain and how do we maximize the opportunity offered for India as a young country where the youth naturally have an affinity to technology? How can we educate our children and youth? How can we retrain our youth and our working population to prepare for the disruption that AI will bring about in the economic sector. And a lot of thought has gone in at a policy level, at a technology level, by the skilling sector, NSDC, the Ministry of Skilling Development, Entrepreneurship, etc. It is something which is being actively worked on.
Sure, sir.
Venkatesh, one quick time check. We are at 11:05. So we may want to look at maybe asking another question. And then Shankarji, can we send the rest of the questions to you? Should you have the time, perhaps you can give us some
Sure.
direction answer.
Sure.
So
Venkatesh, one final question, perhaps we
one
could
final
ask.
question is okay. So this is a point for your comment from Shiv Shankar. His observation is there has been a statement by Pricewaterhouse Chambers global chairperson in the World Economic Forum on other countries are not as fit for the digital revolution with artificial intelligence as India. What is your comment on that?
Again, I'm sure Bob Moritz, the PwC chairperson, had his reasons. But my reason so I don't know whether other countries are not as fit. I cannot comment. But I can tell you is India is ready for the AI revolution. The reason India is ready is multiple. One, as I said, we have a young population, and this young population has benefited from technology over the last 2 decades. And we now have the largest per capita consumption of digital bandwidth of data on mobile phones in the world. So several statistics show that we are digitally a very savvy country at the scale of India. The second is because of this digital public infrastructure approach, the probability that AI adoption will reach India fast, the probability is more than in other countries. And also the institutional lead.
We are not able to hear your voice first.
I think it's a bandwidth issue. Yeah, he's back.
Yeah. It froze for some time.
I think we're on standby. We'll wait for another couple of
Yes.
seconds. Okay. He's saying there's an audio problem.
Now he has logged off also. Maybe
Okay. We'll wait for him to
Sure.
join us back.
He has joined back.
All right. So I guess there is some technical glitch, but nonetheless, be rest assured to our audience at least, we will share these questions with Shankar ji, and should he have the time, he'll definitely send us the responses, which we will send back. Alternatively, we will also seek permission to share the deck that he had used in his presentation. Before we actually ask everyone to go on behalf of WGDT, IMB, and any GD, I'd like to extend a vote of thanks to our speaker, Mr. Shankar Maruvaraji. And most importantly, we are grateful, sir, that you took the time to share your thoughts and insights and experiences with us, especially the topic of innovations in digital transformation flowing across boundaries had shed a lot of light and valuable insights. And we recognize your efforts in taking time to prepare and delivering such an interesting session. We also thank all our partners, as well as, most importantly, our ever so loyal audience. Thank you for helping us kickstart season 2 with the first episode. And please reach us if you have any clarification, and stay tuned for the next episode next month. Thank you again. Namaskar, and see you next month. Thank you, Shankar ji, and the rest of our partners from IIM and NGD.
Thank you. Thank you all.